Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Taos County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for today, September 16th, 2014. We're a little bit late. For the record, 9:06 a.m. Madam Clerk, if you can do the roll call, please.
Present.
Present.
Present. Present.
Okay, Commissioner Sanchez is out this morning. Welcome, everyone. I would like to ask Dr. Kaufman to lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome. Right here.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Doctor. Welcome. We will move on to item 4. This is the approval of the agenda, Commissioners. Any changes to the agenda as prepared by staff, administration?
So moved to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Yes. Present. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to item 5. This is citizen concerns. I know that we have Ms. Valerie, I forget your last name, visiting Taos with her son, who is a Taoseño. Would you like to speak at this time, make your presentation?
I would indeed.
You can come forward to the podium and...
I haven't done this before, so...
Well, welcome. And if you can give your full name.
My name is Valerie Ann Stoner. I live part-time here in Taos, in this beautiful town, which I love dearly. And also I live half the time in England in a place called Henley-on-Thames, which is on the river. And so I'm so blessed to be able to live by the river and yet in the mountains. And so I have a dream. I really, truly love this town. I am a complementary therapist. I'm also a catalyst. And I have a passion for crystals. And it was my idea that it would be great to have a beautiful crystal in the plaza. And a crystal like this, which is an obsidian. Sorry. Can I show you all? This obsidian, and this isn't a rainbow obsidian, but there is also going to be some black obsidians, if we may put them in the plaza. And the quality of this crystal is it's a guardian spirit which will protect the town. It keeps away impish spirits. It creates unity. It dispels negativity. It helps to let go of the past. It sees the future with clarity. It increases creativity and joy in this period of transition. It opens new horizons, and it vibrates to the number 3 and 7. All those things are terribly important to me because the deep history of this town has had a lot of unrest. And at this time of transition, it is really important for us to live in unity. And as I say, I already said I love this town. And so if we could have a crystal, a really powerful crystal, like this beautiful obsidian, which is 10 inches wide and it's 42 pounds in weight, in the plaza, where so much of the history is steeped. It would be wonderful if we could do that. So I come here today to seek your permission to actually put it up. I have already spoken to Dan Moran, who was very kind to me, and also to Gabriel Romero, who was also very kind to me. And we recently went into the plaza to look where the most suitable place would be. Initially, we thought it would be wonderful if it was on top of the courthouse. But since then, and knowing that there's going to be a lot of refurbishment there, we again looked to see what the best place would be. And in the end, the three of us that were there decided that it would be probably best to be on the gazebo. And so the obsidian on the gazebo would look something like that. Shall I bring it over to you, and can I bring these two over to you?
Thank you.
And what the qualities of it is written on the back of the sheet. I just want to tell you one very interesting story, very briefly, because I know you're terribly busy this morning. But vibrating to the number 3 and 7 is really important. And so when I went back to England recently, and many people in my town in Henley-on-Thames are very interested in what we're doing here, or what we hope to do here. One of my friends said, how much did it cost? And I said, the obsidian cost $629. And he said, oh, well, would you like to know exactly the price of it in English money? And I said, yes, that would be very interesting. And so on his telephone, he went like that with his app, and up came the numbers 37373, which is really interesting, isn't it? So it was £373. So it was really interesting that happened, that this obsidian does resonate with 3 and 7. And so what we plan to do, if it is possible, and if you agree, that my son, who is a blacksmith, Jim Stoner, would you like to just say how we...
I have my own blacksmith shop in Arroyo Seco. So what we would propose to do is build a steel collar with 4 forged heavy gauge feathers that would encapsulate the sphere, and then an artistically forged stand that would bolt to the top of the gazebo. I think would really make the gazebo look a lot more substantial and interesting.
And for me particularly, I know that the mayor is really interested in having new businesses come. And so one of the energies of this crystal is New Horizons. And I think that's really wonderful to attract more people to this beautiful, beautiful town.
So, Chairman, that creates a little difficulty now, because I understood it was going to be on the Old County Courthouse, and now that it's being proposed on the gazebo, since the town owns the gazebo, I think this conversation needs to go in front of the town council versus the commission. But Mayor Baroni, Commissioner Baroni, and commissioners, we had originally met about, a week ago on the plaza, because the original thought was the suggestion that you had made, that it go on the plaza.
On the courthouse.
In the courthouse, I'm sorry. There's an arched opening on the parapet of the front facade of the old courthouse. But we don't know how stable that opening is as far as being able to anchor it. And also the fact that the old courthouse is going to be going eventually through some renovations. We kind of looked around the plaza, and I think you had suggested possibly maybe even La Fonda Hotel. It's not as prominent, though, as the gazebo is. And so the suggestion was made that possibly the gazebo commissioner would be a second idea, or a second place to possibly consider placing it. And so I just wanted for them to come through today and present the idea so that the public is aware of it. And if the commission wishes, maybe the old courthouse is a possible location, then we can accommodate that as well. But that's got to be a decision that is made by the entire commission.
Yeah, we did think about where the bell went in the old courthouse would be a perfect spot for it. But then if you refurbish it, you may want to put the bell back in there. We weren't sure about that. So maybe on the corner was also a possibility. Then when we looked around, the gazebo was such a focal point there, and it would actually be an artistic piece.
the more appropriate place because of the fact that it is, it has the ability to be seen. It is round. It transfers light from one side to the other, and so that would be the more appropriate place for it to be seen by the public and by people visiting the plaza versus the old courthouse where it's only going to be visible from the very front and from a very far distance. So, Commissioner Mayor Barone, that's something that maybe is worth considering.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and I don't want to drag this on because, you know, I know these good people are wanting to give something to the county or the town or, and in recognition or of peace and tranquility on the plaza and that type of stuff. And if it be the wishes, then what we direct them is to get on the city council's agenda and then move forward in that direction. I can make that suggestion and they can get on next Tuesday's agenda if
Okay. The other suggestion was
they ask.
Was possibly, I think one of the things that has attracted you, Valerie, is the spruce, the tree that has been donated, the evergreen that has been donated by Taos Pueblo to the citizens of the town of Taos and Taos County, was possibly locating it in that area there, but that would require a large pole or something to keep it safe and away from vandalism. So, you know, these are all things that could be possibly considered and looked at as well.
I would just like to say one thing, that when I did have the meeting with Mayor Barone, when he suggested the courthouse, it brought tears to my eyes. And I don't cry usually, and my tears poured out of my eyes, and I thought, oh my gosh, yes, this is where it should be. But I do agree with you. Well, what we thought about the gazebo is that everybody can see it, and it has huge energy. So actually, it would energize the whole of the town, let alone the plaza. And so it would serve all, I believe.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Commissioner Blankenhorn, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I think it'd be beautiful in either place, and I'll let others decide, but I just wanted to thank you for the gift to the community. It's both of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And if you can talk a little bit about where this particular sphere originated.
Oh, yes, I can. Originally, I thought that we would have a quartz crystal, and then I was told, no, you don't need that. What you need is to have an obsidian. And with the quartz crystal, the only place we could get it was from China. And I didn't want to have anything from anywhere else but from this landmass. And so Pam at the crystal shop opposite Albertsons kindly went on the web and found that there was this company who actually mined obsidian. And I have a friend who is also a crystal healer. She suggested it should be the obsidian. And so Pam kindly looked on the web, and out of the blue, thank you, Spirit, she had a telephone call from a company in Mexico who actually mined obsidians and were coming the next day to actually bring obsidian spheres. And so lo and behold, they came and they brought these crystals, and they very kindly brought this particular one out, which is a rainbow crystal. And they also kindly let me have it for this money, $629. If you look it up on the web, they're worth anything from $1,000 to $1,500. And so we were truly, truly blessed by not only Pam at the shop, but also the young men that came down that actually suggested that this was the rainbow one, is the one that we should have. So we have been blessed continually, I have to say.
Very good. Thank you so much for the presentation this morning. And I know that you had mentioned that you have to leave back to England at the end of the month.
I do, yes.
And I don't know how quickly all of this can be done, but I don't think it'll happen before you leave. And so it takes a little bit of time to get all these things done and planned.
We were hoping for spring, weren't we?
We always have to have patience.
Yeah.
These days, we have to have patience.
Yes.
And so I hope to be back in April.
Okay.
So if that would be possible, if we could work towards that, that would be absolutely wonderful as well.
And
Commissioner
Chairman, and my suggestion is if you would get with Mr. Rick Bellis down at the town and get on our agenda for Tuesday, and I will put a call in that you will be asking to be on the agenda.
Okay, and so how do I go about that?
You know where my office is?
Yes.
If you'll just talk to Kathy, and Kathy will direct you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Do you have a card?
Thank you all very much. I'm truly grateful to you all.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Bye-bye. Okay, anyone else that wishes to speak? Dr. Kaufman.
Thank you. This is a follow-up, really, from when I spoke to the Working Committee on Healthcare. I'm Mike Kaufman, Dr. Kaufman. I've been in practice here for 41 years, long time. And what I want to speak to you about today is where I see that healthcare in this community and also in the country is going, and largely about what's happening with the hospital. But I also want to talk to you about some items that may really be of direct concern to the county. Healthcare at this time is in real turmoil, as you all know. One of the problems that is happening is there's decreased funding, and largely for hospitals. They're being cut. You would know it's bipartisan, but it really is. I mean, the Democrats want to provide care for more folks, and the Republicans find that the national debt is an existential problem, that we can't, healthcare costs too much. So the goal is to go for quality care, but that's away from high cost to lower cost. It means less care in hospitals and more towards outpatient homes and similar entities. The problems that hospitals are having, there's about 40% of all hospitals in the country, they're really in great financial risk, especially rural hospitals, is that that's happening, but at the same time, technology has really taken great steps forward. So things that we used to do in the hospital and have people stay in the hospital now often are just one-day stays or outpatient stays. So I've been in medicine long enough that when I was in training, if somebody had a heart attack, you were in the hospital for 4 weeks, doing nothing, just staying there. That didn't make any sense, but that's where it was. Now, if you have chest pain, and I'll go back, so even when I was in practice here for many years, if you had some chest pain and, quote, a minor heart attack, you were in our hospital for several days to be observed, stabilized, and then go forward. What happens now, if you go to our emergency room with chest pain and a heart attack, you're immediately sent for cardiac catheterization to Santa Fe or Albuquerque and home the next day. So where our hospital has lost lots of inpatient folks, and also we don't have the technology for some of the things that rightfully so need to go someplace else. So we as a community need to figure out where we're going as far as healthcare. So I'm here today as president of the Taos Community Health Plan, which is a partnership between the hospital and the physicians of Taos. Jim Peterson is our CEO, who's here with me today. And so we've been working for several years to say, how do we go together as a community to deal with all of this? And one of the things that we really need to do is say, okay, what is our healthcare community? It is not just the hospital, it's not just a doctor's office, but it's the whole community. It involves all those folks who contribute to this. That's physician assistants, nurse practitioners, community health workers, nurses, pharmacists, home health folks, to get all these folks involved. And we do know that if you do that, you get higher quality care for lower cost. For example, diabetes, which is a chronic disease and we're seeing more and more of, as I mentioned the other night, is that the traditional way we treat diabetes was that a patient goes to see a doctor, spends about 15 or 20 minutes, and you go 3 or 4 times a year, and then you leave. Well, for chronic diseases, congestive heart failure, diabetes, behavioral changes are really critical. How you eat, how you exercise, do you take the right medicines? So if you were raising children, I assume most of us do, and you wanted to change their behavior, you saw them for 15 minutes 3 or 4 times a year, I don't think you'd be very successful. So what we really need to do is involve community health workers, even peers, and our home health agency has trained peer educators folks who have diabetes who then can work with their peers and go forward. And the data is clear. These folks do a lot better. That's how one of the ways you keep a more healthy community. The problem with that, as far as a hospital, those folks rightfully don't have to go into the hospital. And that's what our goal is. So how do we as a community get better health, yet keep a hospital which is needed for critical care? And as far as the financing of our hospital, we're really in the same boat as lots of, and again, I go all around the country with the American College of Physicians or around the state with the Medical Society. We're in the same boat as a lot of folks are. I don't know if there's several hospitals are going to survive in New Mexico in rural hospitals. Part of the problem is you don't have the physicians who want to practice there. They want to practice in larger communities. We're going to be facing that also, as some of us older physicians, myself, Larry Schreiber, Ellen Warren, eventually going to retire. And how do we get those replacements? We're trying to deal with that as well. Right now, we're working to get a new cardiologist because our cardiologist, Jill Ismail, is moving to the hospital practice, and so we're working with other folks on that. But it's an ongoing challenge, and it's going to be a greater challenge for hospitals because it's going to decrease funding from all sorts of levels. And there's no way that, at least I foresee, that the hospital can stay financially afloat just by providing the present fee-for-service charges. More and more, what's happened with the Affordable Care Act is that the government has said, okay, now that more people have insurance, we're going to give less subsidies to sole community provider hospital because you'll have Medicaid and you'll have Obamacare or Centennial Care. The problem is a lot of folks don't have that, even though the funding has been cut. And a lot of those folks are on Medicaid, and Medicaid rates are traditionally very low. And they don't really support with all the services that are supplied. So traditionally, private insurance pays more and Medicaid less, and it's sort of a balance. But that balance is going to go more and more towards lower payments, and the hospitals going to continue to be in great financial straits. And one of the things that the working committee started working on was saying, how do we not just keep the hospital afloat, but get a surplus? So for emergencies. And I think the ad hoc committee is going to be working on that. But it's clear to me that I don't think this hospital, any other hospital, so conceived and so dedicated, quoting Mr. Lincoln, that we provide care for everybody who comes in, whether they can pay or not, can survive without some tax-based support. A lot of other hospitals around the state have that. That's what's keeping them afloat. That's a political issue that we have to deal with in our county. And one of the things that was brought out at the working group is that, before folks agree to that, the hospital really has to get a little more transparent as to what's happening, how it's managed, and they're really trying to do that. And I'm going to be meeting with their board on later this month and say, I know you're trying and you're really doing a lot of things, but there's a few other things you need to do so people really understand what's happening here. And I think it's no problem. It's really making great strides. So that's one of the things that I just want to bring to your attention, that I think we're really into not just us, but the whole rural America is going to a crisis. The second thing I want to talk about is something that we touched on briefly the other day, is that we as an integrated healthcare community have the opportunity to try to keep more healthcare dollars here in Taos. There's about $100 million spent in healthcare in Taos County every year. Where is it? Well, we really don't know, but if we can get control of that, not control, but control of that and deliver a higher quality, lower cost care, we can really help salvage our healthcare community and give higher quality care to our community. One of the things that I just want to bring before the commission is that one of the things we're now talking about is assuming some of the risks for health insurance. And I know I don't know, I assume you are, but I know the hospital is. They're really self-insured. They have a broker, Blue Cross, they contract with, who provides the insurance. And we actually met last night as a Taos Community Health Plan to assume some of that risk and work with the county, large employers to provide insurance. And what we would then do is say, okay, what do we really need here? Well, we need, one of the problems that we have with more and more private insurance is that co-pays and deductibles get higher and higher, so people really, it's harder and harder to afford that. Can we reduce that? Can we reduce the cost to the people we insure, the county? In other words, by giving higher quality, lower cost care and providing where it needs to be, making contracts if those folks who go out of the community, can we get better contracts with them? That's an ongoing process, and Jim Peterson's working on that. The problem with that is if we keep more people out of the hospital at lower rates, what happens to the hospital? So we have to deal with these dynamics. So it's a challenging time. I can go on a lot longer on this, but I just want to let you all know that this is happening, and we're really working with this, and we're integrating behavioral health and home health and all of these things. So it's exciting in many ways. So thank you for
Dr. Kaufman, again, welcome, and thank you for being here today. In areas and hospitals and other communities where you're seeing the financial crisis, are these some of these hospitals, have they been looking at this financial crisis a lot earlier? Are we kind of like late in the game? Kind of like the economy in Taos, it was slow to hit us, but yet you were seeing it strong in New York or other places. Is it the same way with hospitals?
Yeah, I think that the hospitals have done business traditionally, in one way, and that people are reluctant. In many ways, we've led the way in New Mexico. It's been hard, I'm sure, for the hospital administration to lay offs and cut people back, but it needs to be done, and now we're finding that all around the state. Los Alamos has laid off several doctors and whatever, and whether grants is going to survive and that sort of thing. So I don't think we've been late. I think we've been right where we need to be. We're one of the poorest counties in the country, and so, as you all know, so it's a little harder for us. We have fewer reserves. The hospital did have some substantial reserves which have been used up during this thing, and we're still, even though all this is, we've cut down expenses and we have kept quality up, the budget's still going to lose some money, and how to make that. And when going around the state, there's the only reason some of those other hospitals are still open is because they have a mill levy going. And
so has any of this been addressed with our congressional folks or the congressional level?
Yes.
And any suggestions, any thoughts?
Well, I mean, they're very helpful. They say, yeah, it's a bad problem. We really need to work on it. The problem is that it's a divided Congress. And so even though they'll agree, I'll tell you a little more about it in a minute, if somebody proposes it and it has the word Obama on it, the Republicans won't do it, and if the Republicans do it, then the Democrats won't do it. For example, under the present law, on January 1st next year, the payment to physicians will drop 28% in Medicare. If that occurs, we're gone. It probably won't occur because it's too catastrophic, because it's all around the country. So this has been going on for many, many years, and every December 31st, there's a temporary resolution passed and they funded for another year. There's actually a bill that's been agreed upon, one of the few things in Congress, that was agreed upon last winter to do away with that sustainable growth rate, whatever it is, and to transform the system into more of a system that pays for quality rather than just doing things. It passed the House with one proviso at the last minute. We agreed to it, and both parties agreed to this. However, we have to do it with Obamacare. It was a death bullet. So the hope is that this bill, which has been agreed upon by both parties, after the election will go through. So that's one item. Part of the way that they pay for it, however, letting physicians be compensated adequately, is they take money from hospitals. Hospitals have been the cow that's done very well in the past, and if even our hospital, it's very hard for us as a community to support, say, 3 surgeons or 2 surgeons, because we have enough for 1.5 surgeons, but you need to do that. So the same thing with OBGYN, there's only so many babies to be delivered in Taos County, but you need 2 or 3 obstetricians to be around, and we're working with nurse midwives. So those folks work for the hospital, and that's true for all around the country, that more and more physicians are working for hospitals because the hospitals had deep pockets. Well, now those pockets are going away. So where does that go? We need to change the system to something we were just talking about, that that we can get control of the many dollars that are not really being spent here in Taos County or in a community, make it more efficient and give better health care. So, yes, but the federal government otherwise is really, we passed a resolution from our Taos County medical side. It went to the state medical side, it went to the AMA, saying that, hey, this is really a crisis of rural hospitals. The AMA passed it, and now for the first time in 40 years, the American Hospital Association and the American Medical Association are meeting on this crisis process, going to Congress. So I think they know about it, but it's how they get through that. So the answer is yes, they know about it. They all agree, yes, it's terrible. But it's the other guys who don't want to do it. So
you mentioned about 100 million medical dollars are passed around the Taos community.
I passed around, spent in the Taos County, yeah.
Yeah, is that circulating pretty much? Does it stay for a while or does it leave?
Well, one about where does it go? How much goes to insurance companies' administration? Okay. I mean, these are premiums that you get or spent. How much leaves the community? Or how much goes to Albuquerque or Santa Fe that could stay here? We just don't know where all that is. And so what our goal is to say, okay, how much of that can we say, okay, insurance company, one of the goals, say Blue Cross, and we've been negotiating with them, these are your premiums for Taos County, it's $10 million, whatever it is. Give us those premiums. You keep your administrative thing 7%, I'll say 5%, they'll say 10%. And let us then manage the rest of the $10 million. And we would decide at that point, well, how much would go to home health, for example. Now, home health is crazy now because under the federal guidelines, you can only get home health if you can't leave your home.
Right.
But why is that? I mean, there's lots of things that we could be doing, diabetes education, a lot of things can be done at the home that you don't have to go other places or people can visit. We talked about the other night about transportation. We're seeing people who don't have transportation, who don't come, and then finally their foot ulcer is so bad they require a 3-month hospitalization. It's huge cost. If we could identify some of those people through our behavioral health, or we're integrated now, make sure somebody goes every day to see those people, and you pay them good wages, $20 an hour. That's going to save a lot less money than hundreds of thousands of dollars of medical bills. So, I mean, it's that sort of thing if we can do that. And it's the insurance companies they have the real advantage to do this as well. Now, I talked about our own insurance here. Now, that would be for large employers that are self-insured. But for small employers like myself, I have Blue Cross or whatever. What's the advantage to a Blue Cross? Well, they could then say, okay, we don't have this risk anymore. So we can tell you for the next 3 years, your rates won't go up, as a private employer, because they have no risk. They just have that 7%. So they would make some money. The problem with most insurances is that you predict the future. Now, with life insurance, everybody's going to die, and you have with health insurance, you never know what's happening. And so they're with the new environment, they're really scared, and their rates are going up a little to cover that. So that's a long answer, but
so has that dollar figure gone up, or has it gone down from previous years? Well, it's an estimate. If you look, it's come at the population who's here, how much is spent traditionally on that population for health care. It's about $110 million. Wow. Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Dr. Kaufman. If the risk goes up the insurance company, where does it fall?
You're talking about if you all chose that. What we would do is it would fall upon us, the new insurer, and what we would do, and this is not new, this is done all around the country, and Jim's been meeting with people from Denver and Arizona, that we'd buy reinsurance. So anything above, say, what we would pick, 75,000 or 85,000, we pick that number, we would go to that reinsurer, and then there's a huge market for that at this point. Mm-hmm. So one of the advantages to a large employer would be, hey, if we could work out, it could be lower rates, better benefits for your employees, and no risk. We would assume the risk. Now, again, it's fairly complicated, and it's not pie in the sky, and we need to really work with some very, very experienced people, and we actually met with some last night. But it's doable, and one of the problems that we have is that to do this, you really need health, and you need a lot of information. You need what's called population-based care, that you need to know, okay, what's in the pipe, who has diabetes, what's at risk. We know that about 5% all across the country of folks account for about 50% of all medical costs. Those are people with chronic illnesses, and you can focus on them and really reduce those costs. So the answer to your question, it would fall on, to the insurer, who would be us, whatever that entity is, us at that point.
And the real advantage is being able to make the choices to change the care, make the care more effective and less expensive.
Right,
and you would then have that ability to make those choices.
Right, in Prescott, Arizona, which I couldn't remember the name of when I told you the other night, I think they reduced the premiums by 30% and cost by 30% by just transferring those care and keeping sicker people out and healthier people away from higher cost things and more to home health.
So who at the table needs to accept that idea and run with it?
Well, we are now exploring it, and literally day by day, and we're meeting with people in Denver, and Jim Peterson would be the person, or I will, or somebody will keep you up to date on what's happening with that, because we think it benefits the folks
Right.
in the community. It certainly benefits those who are paying for insurance. It goes higher and higher, and we'll keep you up to date on that as well. That's just something I hadn't really talked about much the other night, but I want to bring up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, it's a great proposal, and I hope you're successful in it. I'm confident that you'll be able to make some strides. I just wanted to say that it's not really a foregone conclusion that the hospital is not going to be able to maintain financial stability at this point. There's been some positive changes over the last year. It's still a difficult situation, but there have been adjustments to the costs and the revenues, and of course the state has ponied up with a much higher. So it's a kind of a watchful waiting thing, but it's possible that they'll be able to evolve in a way that allows them to be successful and build their reserves.
I certainly hope so. I mean, I'm just trying to be realistic about where it looks like things are going. No, that would be the greatest thing if we can do that. But after we also met last night with some folks who from the regional thing, it's going to be tough. But we're going to work together, and we'll keep it going. We'll keep our community going.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Dr. Kaufman, for being here and giving us kind of a briefing of what's going on. And on our meeting on the 1st, the NCRTD will do a presentation on transportation possibilities. It'll be kind of vague or and then we can adjust it down depending on direction. So, but they'll be there to make that presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay, very good. Awesome. Okay, Ms. Abeta.
Thank you, Dr. Kaufman. As Dr. Kaufman said, it's going to be a struggle for the hospital as it is for all hospitals in the state. But the important thing is for us as a hospital, as a community, not to get too comfortable with what we have, because we don't know what we're going to get next. So really important to keep track of our expenses and that kind of thing, and that's what we're doing. The other thing I just wanted to inform you, and I know Mr. Archuleta isn't here today, but he had wanted to know what was happening with the mediation, with the communication between the administration and the union staff of the hospital. I just wanted you to know that that meeting is set up for September 29th. It's an all-day session, and Mr. David Martinez will be the mediator, and he is available to the hospital to come in other sessions that we may have. So I know that Mr. Archuleta was real interested in knowing that date, so if you can let him know that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chairman, do we have a date on when the new, I know the process for the new CEO is in process now. Do we have
We
any?
do not have a date. We have not actually even gotten the final candidates for interviews with our board or with our staff. So where we are with that, I am not, we do not know. I think we'll have an update at our board meeting next week.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Stilke, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. I saw in a public announcement article in the Taos News a couple weeks ago from the State Highway Department asking for suggestions from the public on what areas could be improved. And you guys have more contact with them than I do. But two that I've noticed that are real dangerous, especially at night, is the road between Penasco and Dixon, where the T where it turns towards Chamisal. No indication, signage, real danger. You go past before you realize it turns there, and you got to make a U-turn and come back around. And the other one is the T at Blueberry Hill where it hits 64. Both of those intersections really need good lighting, but in lieu of that, they could have some massive reflective signs to give indication there's a road that's going to, you can see it during the daytime, but not at night. So if they could do some kind of, it would probably be cheaper with the signage. That's it. Thank you.
Mr. Thielke, I was wondering if maybe you could possibly, in the form of a letter, give that to our administration, and we would forward it to the Highway Department.
Okay.
With very good descriptions of these areas that you're talking about.
Okay. I'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. We'll move on then to item 6, our minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes. The first one, August 19th, 2014. This is a regular meeting. Commissioners?
No move to approve.
I will go ahead and second. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Blankenham.
Yes.
Commissioner Duda.
Yes.
Commissioner Brody.
Yes.
Chairman Romero.
Yes. And we'll move on to the minutes of August 26th, 2014. This was a special meeting.
So moved.
I'll go ahead and second. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Blankenham.
Yes.
Commissioner Duda.
Steve, no, wasn't
Commissioner
it?
Brody.
Yes.
Chairman Romero.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to item 7, contracts, agreements, MOUs, RFPs, and bids. Item A, discussion, consideration, decision regarding approval of a maintenance agreement with the New Mexico Department of Transportation, installation of emergency phone system on the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge. Mr. Malone, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. This is the culmination of the meeting that Mr. Galbathon attended, where he explained the idea of putting security phones both on and in the area of the Gorge Bridge. This is a agreement between Taos County and the New Mexico Department of Transportation that would give Taos County the obligation to provide the electrical and phone service. And it clearly delineates that, unlike the traffic light agreements, the Department of Transportation would have the obligation of maintenance and repairs on the capital improvements. So our only obligation would be for providing electricity and phone service.
Okay, this eliminates us, the agreement eliminates any liability from Taos County?
Well, when you say eliminates any liability, no, each of us have the protections that were normally afforded by the Tort Claims Act. Neither of us is responsible for the other's activities. As long as we pay our allotted share, there's no liability that we would have.
Okay, but say, for example, that there is an outage and at the same time there was someone trying to commit suicide, and, you know, there's no way to prove that they want to go and use the phone system and it's not working. The estate, the family can't come back and sue.
Well, as I've always told you, anybody can sue anybody. All you need is a filing fee. But in terms of prevailing, I don't see that we're taking on any additional liability by agreeing to pay for the electricity and the phone service, unless we negligently failed to pay our bills.
Right. And any idea what the amount will be
Brent, am I don't have that information, but for some reason in my mind, my memory is that it's about $6,000 a year. Does that comport with your memory, Brent?
I believe that's what Mr. Archuleta did say.
Okay, because currently we do have agreements with the New Mexico Department of Transportation on the various intersections.
On traffic lights and that sort of thing.
Traffic lights and that sort of thing in the county areas.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, and so the county is going to provide the full payment, or highway department's doing half and we're doing half?
No, in terms of the electric bill and the phone service, it's entirely 100% on the county. They're putting in, though, all of the infrastructure, the physical lines, the phones, and they're going to maintain the physical lines and the phones.
Okay, commissioners? Recommendation?
That I think that this contract is appropriate. I've asked for several changes, which the NMDOT made at my request.
Okay.
And Chairman, if anything we can do to help mitigate suicides in that area, I think we need to. So I move forward with this. I guess it's an MOU.
Commissioner Barone, Commissioner Dudon had made the motion. So I'll
second.
take yours as a second. Any other questions from the rest of the commission, from the public? Any comments? If not, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Duda.
Yes.
Commissioner Bruni.
Yes.
Chairman Romero.
Yes, we'll move on to item B. This is discussion, consideration, decisions regarding the approval, the collective bargaining agreement between Taos County and the American Federation of State, County Municipal Employees, Council 18, Taos County Public Employees, Local 1193. Ms. Rebecca Parraz-Mondragon, President, and Anita Padilla, Vice President. Welcome. Good morning.
Chairman, before we get started, I noticed both these young ladies are in red today. I thought the union colors were green.
We're here in case there's fire.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Malone, Interim Manager Brent, Jaramillo, and listening audience. We're finally here. It's been a lengthy process, but we do have to thank management for making the negotiations an amicable process. In the end, the union, management, and the commissioners are all working towards a common goal in trying to create a fair, positive, and productive environment for not just us, but all of the employees, and in allowing all of us to better serve the constituents. So at this point in time, I yield the podium to Anita, the Vice President.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, Mr. Malone, Mr. Jaramillo. You have the contract in front of you, but we have also completed a packet where we can go through the changes very quickly. The contract, unless I am speaking about the specifics, is the same. Nothing changed except what we're going to talk about. The first one, of course, is in the recognition, page 4, Article 2. We were trying to clean up the verbiage a little bit so that we would better mirror the Taos County personnel policy. So we needed to touch upon the fact what outside funded employees meant, and of course we all understand that those are grant funded employees, and they are not protected by the union. The next one again is clarification definitions. When we added the outside funded employees, that also brought to light that there were several other definitions that were not in our bargaining agreement that are in the personnel policy. So those are added. Again, outside funded employees, supervisory employees. There's always been some confusion as to, are you union eligible if you're a supervisor? PIPA is very articulate in saying you can be union eligible if you are not supervising 2 or more people, and if you're not taking on a supervisory, you're not changing anybody's working conditions. You can't fire, you can't hire, you can't, that type of thing. So we wanted to make sure we put that in there. Union officers, stewards, and staff representatives. It was better suited for us as a union to combine our secretary treasurer. So instead of having two separate positions, now we have one that does the same thing. We also added a sergeant-at-arms during our elections. We, of course, Becky stayed as the president, I stayed as the vice president, Patty Garcia is the secretary-treasurer, sergeant-at-arms is David Martinez. We have 3 trustees, we have an e-board, chief negotiator, of course, for this was Becky on the union side and Mr. Bob Malone for administrator. We have stewards. On page 7, recruiting. We wanted to also clarify the recruiting and how we felt recruiting should be. This also mirrors the personnel policy for internal posting, external posting, and internal/external posting. Of course, we would always like to see that all of our, the people that already work here at the county are given first chance if there's a position that's going to better their lives or their working conditions. So we would always cite on internal posting first. But page 9, flex time scheduling. This was something that has been in the works for quite a while. So instead of leaving it for human resources, we decided the union would take it upon itself and come up with the policies and procedures of flex time scheduling. This was about a 2-day conversation between ourselves and management, and I think we pretty much got it to the policy where it's going to work and it's going to be employee friendly. As you notice, we did not think that we should go to 410s. At this time, we did not think that that was going to be a good idea for Taos County. But what this does talk about is if, say, a mom has somebody that's going to school, the child can't be at school until 8:30. This allows her to be able to work until 5:30 without having to take annual leave. So the next change is callback. We do have some departments here whereas they will leave Taos County and they will go home, and at some point in time their supervisor or director will call them and say, you need to come back to work. We negotiated that if the employee comes back and they're only back here for 30 minutes, they will still be paid for 2.5 hours. Some of these employees, since we are kind of rural, live out in the outside areas of Taos County. It takes them a little bit to get here. So we figured 2.5 hours was good for both parties. Declared state of emergency was added. That way, if there is a state of emergency, working conditions are not going to be changed. So if somebody is called in, then the union, of course, is all for that. We also changed on page 13 under written reprimand.
One second, Chairman. Anita,
Sure.
Under K1, should not the road department be included in that?
Mr.
The
Chairman.
sheriff's detention and
Correct.
E911.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Barone, these are the only departments that have appendixes right now because they have separate working shifts. These are only for shift employees.
Okay.
These are not for regular 7 to 4 or 8 to 5.
Okay.
These are for the shift employees.
Okay.
Okay?
For clarification purposes, fact of the matter is that if the road department is called back during winter hours or flooding or whatever, the callback applies to them also, but it's a fact that they work 8 to 5. The other departments work at different shift levels, 12 hours, 10 hours, but they're included in this. Anybody union eligible or union paying falls under these categories.
Okay, under supervisor action, under written reprimand, the employee does have the right to of course, view their personnel files, but at 18 months after a write-up in the file, they have the option to put in writing and submit to Human Resources a letter that states that after all this time, there's been no further disciplinary actions, they can take that out of their file. And this is not really a change. This has always been in the policy. I do not believe, though, there's a lot of people that know it's there. So, but it is 18 months. Under compensation and benefits, the union was very aware at this time that there really is no additional funding coming in that could be awarded to our very hardworking employees. So we are, there is a clause in here that says January 1st, 2015, we shall meet again, the negotiating team, to see if any of the, if there's any savings allowable to have increase after January 1st. The disability insurance, which was negotiated last year, is still being picked up by the county. So union paying members are seeing a $4.70 increase because we're not having to pay our own disability insurance. Para contributions, last year it was negotiated. There was an increase in para of 1.5 for the employee. During negotiations, the county went ahead and took over 1% of that, so there was only an increase to the employee by 0.5. This is something that we thought was very important to bring not only to the commission, but members of the public, because the union is so tired of being the person that is kicked around saying, we do not want our employees to get merit increases. That is a bunch of bull. We would love for our employees to get merit increases, but there are criteria, policies and procedures that have to be followed. And those policies and procedures and criteria are set out in the personnel policy. So towards that, I did give you a copy of what the criteria is. If a department thinks that they have employees that deserve a merit increase, these nominations have to be made by the department director or the elected official by June 1st. And the reason that is because that's when everybody's starting to do budgets, so this can be picked up in the next year's budget. Those nominations have to contain an evaluation, a performance evaluation. You can't just say, well, we think they deserve a raise because of. You have to tell us why. At that time, a committee is established to go over those evaluations. And it goes on to tell you who would sit on that committee organization. After the committee has met, then we bring those nominations to the commission. The county may set aside annual merit pay increases when the budget allows. You can't come back in January and say, well, we want to give everybody a raise because your budget is already set in place. Also in here, you cannot give an individual more than 5% of their gross salary in a merit pay increase, and they can only receive one every 3 years. Merit pay increases will become effective the first full pay period in July. The last page, wage negotiations. Our collective bargaining agreement is for 2 years. But we have the ability to come back next year and start just the compensation and benefit negotiations again. And the last change on it was just the term of our agreement, which starts today, September 16th, and it continues through June 30th, 2016. At that time, we stand for questions.
Mr. Malone, your thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, the language that Anita has talked about, I want to make one thing clear. The last discussion about merit pay increases is not something that's part of the collective bargaining agreement. As I understand, that's the personnel policy, and that was not something that was changed.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Malone, you're very correct. Okay. I wanted to clarify that because, again, the union is the one that's taking the brunt of well, they don't get an increase because the union said.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
just
have that
wanted
kind- yeah.
to clarify for the commission that
Correct.
that discussion had nothing to do with the document that's in front of them. These changes were the result of many, many hours of meetings and negotiation, and in the opinion of your administrative staff, these are fair and appropriate changes, and the language and wording accurately reflects what we had agreed to. If there's any specific questions, of course, I'm happy to answer, but we do recommend the adoption of this collective bargaining agreement.
Okay, and as far as other counties in the state of New Mexico are concerned, and what is the relationship like between the county governments and the unions?
We had that discussion during our ratification, and our representative, our council rep who travels the state, says that maybe 75 to 80% of the governmental entities, cities, counties, different jurisdictions, hospitals, anything having to do with state unions or whatever, is pretty amicable. Up until 2 years ago, Taos County didn't have an amicable relationship with management, and thanks to you and thanks to Manager Archuleta, Interim Manager Brent, and Bob Malone, our attorney, Taos County has done a complete 150, and I mean, we can sit there and we can the point to death and then come to a good conclusion, but 75 to 80% is good among the state, I think.
And so that 75 to so percent, are those contracts very similar to what is being presented today? How do they differ?
Lengthy based on the amount of employees that they have. Like the city of Albuquerque, they're always in turmoil based on their their mayor or whoever, because I guess they're so big and they have so many different unions. But no, our contract is a little similar, but because we're such a small county, it doesn't really matter. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. In the roundabout
Well,
way.
it matters a lot. But
Okay.
no, I really, truly want to thank your administrative staff. I mean, they were really good, and Bob and I, as the chief negotiators, would clench our teeth at some points, but we came to a good conclusion.
And Mr. Jaramillo, your recommendation?
Yes, I recommend that we approve the changes to the contract with the union.
Okay. Does anyone else wish to speak? Elected officials, anyone else? Okay, commissioners?
So move to accept the collective bargaining agreement negotiated changes.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that, and just thank staff and the union very much for doing the hard work on these negotiations. I think the changes are really good ones, and I do appreciate you including the policies and procedures on merit increase. I think they're good policies, and we should use them. So, again, second the motion. Thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me, just for clarification purposes, when we have definitions in the contract and there's no wording or any explanation, the contract is silent, so we yield to the personnel policy as in the merit increases.
Thank you. You have a lovely day.
Thank you so much, but they haven't voted?
Oh.
Madam Clerk?
Yes.
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 Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, we'll move on to item 8, resolutions and ordinances. Item A, discussion, consideration, decisions regarding DFA resolution number 5, 2014/2015 fiscal year, resolution requesting to adjust the FY 215 final budget. Mr. Cordova?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, DFA Resolution Number 5 is in order to establish a budget for a Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management subgrant in the amount of $75,000. The money will be used to upgrade equipment at our repeater sites. Most of the equipment most of the money will fall under the professional services line item, with $10,000 remaining to equipment and machinery. and I do recommend approval of this so that we could get the work done.
Where, Mr. Chairman, where's this money coming from?
The money's coming from Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. It's a federal grant.
Oh, okay. So move to approve?
And I'll second discussion. Chairman, Mr. Cordova, is this on a reimbursement basis?
I'm going to actually yield to Mr. Sanchez, our fire chief, who went ahead and applied for it. I believe we do get some of the money up front, but...
Chairman, Commissioners, the way this grant works, and it's the grant that we usually receive every year, this $75,000 was actually awarded in November of last year. Just failed to be put in the budget when we did the budget planning. But the way the grant works is we basically put the money up in front. We do have to get approvals from Homeland Security to go ahead and purchase the equipment. Once we've purchased the equipment, then we submit back for reimbursement, and we get reimbursed the full amount. There is no match to this grant. It's just a straight award. What we're doing right now with a big purchase of this grant, it's for the microwave link that we talked about in the last commission meeting. That's what the big purchase is coming from out of this one grant for right now.
So move for approval, Chairman.
Okay. There was a second already. Yeah.
I seconded it. I seconded it. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Discussion.
Any other
We're
questions?
under discussion.
Discussion, comments? Okay. Staff?
We recommend approval, Chairman.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, on both these items, will then money have to be another?
Temporary loan?
Yeah, temporary.
Yes, Commissioner, I think I understood your question after. Yes, we will be required to do a operating transfer of $75,000 as a temp loan in order to get
That's okay.
That's part of the approval.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, DFA Resolution Number 6 is requesting to adjust the budget in order to establish a fund for administrative fees that were issued to the county in the amount of $19,939.90. These came from the sale of the 2013 GRT educational bonds that we issued last September. Within that sale, it allowed Taos County to reimburse up to $20,000 for administrative expenses. Our treasurer has worked really hard at recouping all of this, and what we would like to do is establish a line item within the 399, put this money in there and allow the treasurer to buy some equipment for their office, and they may allow the finance department to get a computer or two as well. So I recommend approval of this, and it's one way for us to get some equipment through a different source of revenue. And so I do commend our treasurer as well for working really hard to get this money into the county.
So move.
Go ahead and second.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Duda.
Yes.
Commissioner Brony.
Yes.
Chairman Romero.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Leandro. We'll move on to item 9, Department Matters, discussion. Consideration decision regarding a time and date of final plat hearing for the Busole subdivision. Mr. Jaramillo, are you going to present for Edward?
Mr. Vihil should be right down. What he's looking for is to bring the final plat approval to the next commission meeting that I believe is on October 7th. He's estimating that it'll be about 2 to 3 hours to hear the hearing, and I'll let him finish presenting.
Thank you, Mr. Jaramillo. And you've got the next item.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Malone. Come before you today to request a hearing date and a time for the final plat application of the Beausoleil subdivision. Planning staff has received the application for the Beausoleil subdivision. We have not deemed it complete, but it's only a matter of deeming it complete, and we should be able to deem that complete here probably within the next week or so. Respectively, we'd like to ask a date for the hearing to consider the final plat. We have done a calculation in terms of the time frame required for the necessary legal notice of 21 days and the letters of notification of 21 days. And we anticipate the public hearing to be able to be held on October 21st if your schedule so chooses to have it on October 21st.
This, Mr. Chairman, this subdivision is located,
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is the large subdivision of 300 or 400 acres or so, and it's located off of the Hondo Seco Road.
and we're seeking what? Again?
Final plat approval. This would be the last hurdle to get this subdivision approved if you choose to approve the application. If we get the legal ad into the newspaper on Friday, it would appear next Thursday. Giving us a 21-day notification period would put us on October 16th. And if you do have a meeting on October 21st, it would appear that it would qualify for the October 21st meeting.
Okay.
So move to approve for October the 21st.
Okay.
Second?
Okay, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Commissioner Duda?
Yes.
Commissioner Brun?
Yes.
Chairman Romero?
Yes. We'll move on to Mr. Edward. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, Commissioner Duran, with all due respect, maybe a friendly amendment to your motion, since it is a public hearing. Can you also set a specific time, please?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock?
Okay.
Is that part of our regular meeting, correct?
I believe that October 21st is a regular meeting, Mr. Malone.
1 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't have that schedule in front of me.
Yeah.
We do.
Regular meeting. Yeah, 1 o'clock.
Mr. Malone, do we have to set a motion for this as well?
Yes, we should set a specific time, and so that
21st?
So move to hear this public hearing on October the 21st at 1:15 p.m.
Okay.
And I'll second the amended motion.
Okay. Madam
Chairman, did we need to withdraw the other motion?
Mr. Malone?
just to clarify, Commissioner Duran, that's an amendment to your earlier motion? Okay,
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
that's fine. Okay. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Blankenhorn?
Yes.
Commissioner Duda?
Yes.
Commissioner Brun?
Yes.
Chairman Romero?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Edward. Mr. Jaramillo, on the next one, discussion, consideration decisions regarding activating the road viewers to assess the Pacheco Road. Mr. Errol Salazar, Acting Public Works Director, and Mr. Brent Jaramillo.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the commission. We received a letter on July 17th from the residents of Pacheco Road in the Llano San Juan area of District 5. They're requesting that we adopt their road into the county inventory road program. And we respectfully ask that the commission activate the road viewers to take a look at Pacheco Road in the Llano San Juan area of District 5. And there's 6 families of school-aged children, and you might have seen in your packets that we did receive the petition, and there was pictures of the roadway as well, that it is in poor condition, and I believe it is less than 1/4 mile that they're asking to be adopted.
So move to activate the road viewer.
I'll second, and with that, Brent, will they also bring back, how this road was created, when, and all that also?
The history.
The history of the road?
This road used to be the old road that used to go from Llano San Juan into Lower Rojito.
And who owns the road?
Well, right now, it's part of it's just, what would you call it, like, it's not an easement, it's, what is it, what's the other word?
Prescriptive easement?
No, it's,
Right away,
no.
the one with the 10-year easement, is that what you're
It's
thinking?
like, what do you call it?
That's all right. Just so they bring us,
I can't
just so they bring
remember
the information to us when we,
And Mr. Chairman, the other information that,
Public, it was a public road. Public road.
the other information that's important is the cost. The upfront cost of surveys and the upfront costs of improvements.
Well, actually, it's only 1/10 of a mile. I think what they're asking for is just to make a bar ditch, put in a bar ditch, maybe 2-3 loads of gravel, and that should do it.
Mr. Salazar, any thoughts?
Where's Mr. Silky? That's Mr. Silky's road.
Oh, is that the one? Mr.? Oh, okay. He took off. Go ahead, Mr. Salazar.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Commissioners, they were just approached us with this petition to see, but I think they want more than just a bar ditch and a couple of loads of gravel. I think it's going to need a lot more work than that. We got to go out and look at it and assess it and see how much the cost will be and what it's going to entail to get it right.
Okay, so you'll come before the commission then with the road reviewers' recommendation as well. Okay, very good. Thank you.
And,
Commissioners? So there was a motion, there was a second. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Duda.
Yes.
Commissioner Barone.
Yes.
Chairman Romero.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go on to item 10. This is budget matters, discussion, consideration, decisions regarding the approval, the purchase of a 2015 Chevrolet Tahoe SSV as per State Contract 40-00-14-00060 in the amount of $32,642. Mr. Alan Sanchez, good morning.
Morning.
Taos County Fire Chief.
Chairman, Commissioners, I come before you to request approval to purchase the vehicle in question. This would be coming out of my 209 budget, which is my state fire marshal money. Wouldn't impact the county in any way, shape, or form. And this was basically brought upon a request through our new OEM director and to get back the vehicle that I'm currently using to go back to that department.
To what department?
To Department of Emergency Management.
Okay.
So this is coming out of, Mr. Chairman, out of the what,
209. This is state fire marshal money. In the packet, there should also be the approval from the state fire marshal's office to go ahead and purchase as well.
We already approved it?
Yes.
And Chairman, I'll go ahead and second again, but discussion.
Yes.
We're trying to buy as much local. Is it going to be bought local?
Under the state contract, this one actually comes out of Santa Fe because Friday Motors is not part of the state contract.
Go out to bid.
Okay.
I mean, we want local businesses. We want to spend our dollars locally. I've been harping on this for 8 years, and we still.
And that's fine, sir.
Go around that process. I mean, I'd love to see something bought local. If you need warranty on it, you got to drive it to Santa Fe.
No,
they'll service it here.
Yes.
They don't have to service it here.
Yes, sir, you're correct on that one.
I mean, then you're going to send 2 guys to Santa Fe to get it serviced over there. One to take you, one to pick you up, because you're going to leave it there. So we're going to land up losing money. I mean,
I understand that, Commissioner, and I can sympathize. I wish that there was more dealerships up here currently as well, but I mean, if that's a request of the commission to go out to bid, I'll go out to bid. This puts a delay back on when this would be purchased. I know that in discussions I had with the county manager, they wanted me to get that vehicle back to Department of Emergency Management as soon as possible. So I'll go ahead and I'll put out for the bid request on that as well.
Okay.
there was a motion. I don't know.
Commissioner Dudon, you had made a motion. Did you want to withdraw or do you want to continue?
Well, I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay. The same with the second on the motion?
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, let me make a quick suggestion.
Mr.
Because
Malone?
this is on the agenda for action, if the action is going to be to reject the request, then that should be voted on, and if there's going to be direction to go out to bid, that should be voted on. It could be one vote, but I think there needs to be a vote to make clear that it's the commission's collective decision.
Okay. Motion probably to reject and then also a recommendation to staff, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioners?
I'll make that motion, Chairman, that we ask to reject this and to ask our staff to go out to bid.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Commissioner Duda.
Yes.
Commissioner Barone.
Yes.
Chairman Romero.
Yes. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Sanchez, I have a question for you. Since you're the fire marshal, who's in charge or who do you contact? Because this don't sound too good. There was a fire in Peñasco on 9/8/14,
Okay.
and fire truck ran out of fuel before they got there.
And I spoke to Randy Saad, who's the district chief for Peñasco. It's normally, the way it works is the membership of the department is responsible for making sure that fuel is in those vehicles. It wasn't a funding issue. They did have the funding to go ahead and put fuel in there. When I spoke with Chief Shad from Peñasco, he'd informed me they had used that truck at a fire up by Sipapu, and whoever took the vehicle back neglected to put fuel in it, and then it was just overlooked. On the event in question, that was their second in truck. It wasn't the primary truck responding. They did have adequate water supply with the first truck to take care of the situation, and that they had that truck back on the road, the one that ran out of fuel, back on the road within 30 minutes of it running out of fuel. But it is the responsibility of the membership of that district to make sure that those trucks are topped off with fuel and water for the next call.
So you had a talk with the fire chief?
Yes, I did speak with Chief
Yeah,
Saad.
because it's kind of embarrassing that the gentleman that had the fire approached me and says, well, what's wrong, Commissioner, that you don't let these people put fuel in the truck?
No, sir, and that was one of the things that I looked into, because we did change fuel cards this month, but that wasn't the reason why. It wasn't anything out of the finance department or anything like that, or a funding reason. They just neglected to put fuel in the truck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 10B, discussion, consideration, decision regarding the budget adjustment for the Administration Judicial Complex Fund. Mr. Cordova, welcome back.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, what we're asking for today is a budget adjustment in our 103 account, the Judicial Complex. We would like to add $50,000 to equipment and machinery in order to complete the purchase of the Spillman software for the E911. It won't require the entire $50,000. And I'll allow Richard to get into more detail. However, we wanted to put a little extra in there just for contingency. Getting that we're so close to the end of this project, we want to give them the ability to finish this project. So, if there's any questions on details, I would yield to Mr. Sanchez.
Mr. Chairman, this money is coming out of the, we have for the complex?
Yes, sir. It's the excess GRT above the debt service that comes into the 103 account. And last year we did really well in receiving revenue above budget, and I think we're doing pretty well so far. This year we're on track to meet the budget that we put in place.
Any questions?
Just one question, Mr. Cordova. How are our GRTs doing? Because it's based on GRT, you know that, you know, I know in the, you know, we've got a report in a couple of the other entities that I serve on, and GRTs, and some have been down 3%, some of them have been down 8% for different months or periods. You know, I know that the Mumford & Sons, the month last year that Mumford & Sons was here, that month we're actually down 13%. I don't know how the county's GRTs are looking at.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner, you're right. Luckily, we're very conservative in our budgeting, so we're right on track with what we conservatively budgeted, but it is down compared to previous years. The other thing the county has to look at is, as I monitor every municipality within the county, if a certain municipality has a bad month, the county's going to have a bad month. So as the town of Taos may have steady, as an example, if the village of Cuesta or Red River has a bad month, the county usually feels that as well. So we are monitoring it. We're right on track to our budget, but you're right, it's down overall, and that's unfortunate. But I'd like to see it go back up to where it was last year when it was a little bit higher. Mumford & Sons was a good event.
Yeah, and then one of the reasons I concern is because of the, you know, closing of the mine, and the, you know, the people in general not spending money because, you know, 300 jobs lost, and I just want to make sure that we are within our budget. And with that said, and with your explanation, so move for approval.
Discussion.
Is there a second?
This was.
I'll go ahead and second.
Okay. This was for 50,000?
Yes.
Let me ask a question. Who knocked down the pole over there on that entrance, and why hasn't it been replaced?
Mr. Flores could answer that.
Chairman Romero, members of the commission, Mr. Jaramillo, Mr. Malone. Waste management, a driver from waste management backed up into the pole, and it's currently going through the insurance process. We did file a police report with our local sheriff's office. They responded. I do have a police report number. What held it up was getting a cost estimate on the replacement of the pole. I had to get 3 quotes. Those vendors take their time depending on what their schedule is like getting those quotes back to me, so it did drag on a little bit. We're hoping to get it replaced in the next, I would hopefully say 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Okay.
I'll put my foot in my mouth.
And it's an insurance claim?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you. So this way you could add a little bit more to the 50.
Okay, so there was a motion, there has been a second. Thank you, Commissioners. Any other questions? If not, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
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 Yes, we'll move on to item C. This is discussion, consideration, decisions regarding the budget adjustment for the Cerro Fire Department, and is requesting for the repair of the pumper engine number 2, Mr. Alan Sanchez, Taos County Fire Chief. Mr. Raymond Gallegos, Cerro Fire Chief, not here. Go ahead.
Chairman, Commissioners, this is a budget adjustment to just move some money from their budget around so they can do some repairs to one of their pumper trucks. The pumper truck in question needs to have a pump rebuild. It's approximately just under $10,000 based on the 3 quotes that they got. And so that truck will be placed out of service. We'll probably have to go to Albuquerque to have the pump actually taken out of the truck and have it rebuilt.
Okay. Recommendations from staff?
We recommend approval of this change.
Okay. Mr. Cordova, did he leave? Oh, great. Mr. Cordova, with regards to the item in discussion, recommendation?
Pardon me, Mr. Chairman. We do recommend approval.
Okay.
So moved, Jim.
Okay.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, we'll move on to item 11, Commission Reports and Matters. Discussion, consideration, decisions regarding a request for consideration of adopting the Tres Lomas Road, Arroyo Hondo. Commissioner Blankenhorn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was a request and the road viewer report. I don't know what the date, April 1st. So this came back to us April 1st along with a number of others that we had gone along with the road viewers report to deny. At that time, we had suggested to then Department Head Mr. Chavez to contact some of the people who lived in the areas of these various roads and see if they were willing to contribute to pay for the upfront costs. And that's what has occurred for Tres Lomas Road, and there is a representative from Tres Lomas area who will describe those discussions and the results for us. I think that, you know, the bottom line on this road, based on the report of the road viewers, is that the only upfront cost is surveys, and I believe that that's going to be covered by the residents. Although I would like confirmation of that from Mr. Salazar if we could get it. Serves 30 people. It's the only way out. It's adjacent to other roads that are graded and maintained by the county on a regular basis. With that, I'll...
Whereabouts is it located?
Well, let me get a better description from the residents.
Okay, go ahead and come forward and state your name for the record as you do speak.
And Mr. Chairman?
Before you speak. Mr. Malone?
Yes, and just to put this in a procedural context for everybody, if the commission is inclined to be in favor of this proposal, the appropriate step at this point would be to direct the road viewers, and it's a redirection of the road viewers to secure the survey. Obviously, in this case, it would be being paid for by the community.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to be on the agenda and present our situation. My name is Andy Johnson, and I'm here representing the 33 homeowners who are served by this road. And we have approached all of them, and including Louis Reyes with Kit Carson, who also has a substation is served by that road. I have here the obligation, the signed obligations by all of the 33 homeowners served by that road, including Louis Reyes with Kit Carson, who agreed to pay to have the survey completed. We have a proposal from Rio Grande Survey for a little over $2,500 to pay for the survey, which we agree to have performed. And whatever consideration the commissioners can give us, we heartily appreciate it. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chairman. How much is Kit Carson contributing?
$500.
Okay. Mr. Salazar, could you inform the board what your opinion of the initial costs would be to adopt this road, aside from the survey, which is covered?
Chairman, Mr. Commissioners, this is the first time I've heard about this road or anything about it, so I'm not really sure of what it's going to take or how much it's going to cost. I know the average of the survey is like $2,000 to $3,000, but other than that, I don't know. I'll find out.
Thank you, Mr. Salazar. And whereabouts is the road located off of 522?
Mr. Romero, the road runs from the intersection with B001, and it runs for approximately, the section we're talking about runs for approximately half a mile, Tres Lomas Road, to the intersection with Spanish Peaks Road. So it's right adjacent to B001, which is already being maintained by the county, and it's approximately half a mile section.
And was it part of a subdivision, previous subdivision?
I don't believe so.
It's just a road that became a public road?
Yes, that's correct.
Through the years. And we had rejected this road a few years back.
April of this year, Mr. Chairman, yeah. I hate to do this to my constituents, but I would ask that this be continued for the meeting on October 21st so that we know how much it's going to cost. How much fill are we going to have to bring in? Are we going to have to do culverts and that sort of thing? Because I think at the last meeting, we decided that whatever upfront costs would be incurred in any of these roads would come off of that district's budget for the following year. And that's something that I'm in favor of, and I'm in favor of adopting this road, but it's important for me to know and the rest of the board to know what those upfront costs are going to be. I very much appreciate all of the work that the residents have done in getting the commitment for the survey, which will make a big difference. Based on the road viewers' report, it doesn't look like there's huge expenses up front, but we're going to have to get that estimate from our Public Works Director.
Okay, and the motion would then be to postpone till the 21st of October?
Yes, and bring it back on the agenda on the 21st, along with an estimate from Mr. Salazar about the upfront costs.
Is the Road Viewers Committee going to have to look at this again?
I don't believe so, but I defer to our county attorney.
Mr. Malone.
That would be within the discretion of the commission. If the commission wanted to get a further opinion from the road viewers, that would be appropriate, but the commission has the legal authority to ignore the recommendation of the road viewers.
Okay, and I'm thinking that maybe because Mr. Salazar is new to this particular road, hasn't really had the opportunity to go with the Road Viewers Committee to look at it, maybe that we should make that recommendation for the road viewers to go out there again with Mr. Salazar. That way we have a totally fresh opinion versus what was there from the previous superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, if that's the choice of the commission, that should be a vote to send the road viewers out.
Okay, I'll set that in the form of a motion then.
Discussion? I'd like to ask Mr. Salazar if he thinks that that's necessary. I mean, you know, if he thinks that he can view the road himself, read the road viewer's report, and come back with a cost estimate without requiring the road viewers, which would take up additional time and energy. I would defer to Mr. Salazar.
It would also include a fresh opinion from Mr. Salazar versus the previous director. Mr. Salazar, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Commissioners, we have like probably like 6 roads that we got to go out and view, so I don't think we'll be able to put that one in October because of the time limit. But I think I could go out there and kind of assess it and see what it's going to cost and get some kind of price together without having to take the road viewers.
Okay. I'll withdraw my motion then.
You had started a motion, Councilor.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner Barone. I'll move to place this back on the agenda on October 21st and ask Mr. Salazar to come in at that time and give us an estimate.
Second that.
Okay, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Duran.
Yes.
Commissioner Brody.
Yes.
Chairman Romero.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, we'll move on to item 11B. This is discussion, consideration, decisions regarding or to direct staff to work on a memorandum of agreement with the town of Taos for the operational use of the old county courthouse. Mr. Blankenhorn?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I placed this on the agenda because I don't think we can continue to operate the county courthouse as we are right now. It's not legal for us to give away spaces at the courthouse. The way it's been explained to me by Mr. Malone, it either has to be for fair market value or the tenant has to answer an RFP for community service. And in addition to that, the building needs to be brought up to ADA standards, which is going to require bathrooms and plumbing work, which is going to require taking out one of those alleyways. So, you know, I think it's something that we need to fix. I think that we all agree that we would like to be able to do it without putting a major burden on our budget or our staff. And so the proposal I've made, which is in your packet, seeks to address all of those concerns. And basically, the proposal is to utilize the front spaces that face the plaza for commercial tenants. Those rents would help with the operational costs, if not cover them. And then to put out a request for proposal with the town to find somebody who can both manage the building and organize the funding sources available to make the capital improvements necessary. I'm completely convinced that there are funding sources available and that if we had the right person with the right talents focused on that and organizing them, that the grant money would be there. It would be a relatively small expense for the county because we would be splitting it with the town, and because, frankly, I don't think this is a full-time position. This is just something where, you know, a particular person who has the talents for grant writing and organizing can handle it in a less than full-time capacity. I think that, you know, the county owns the building, but it's not like private ownership. You know, we own it as stewards for the community. And it's set right in the middle of the plaza where the town is working hard to revitalize that most special place in our community. And so I hope that there is sufficient support on the board to direct staff to move ahead in this direction.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Commissioner Blankenhorn, could they set up on the monitor what you said was in the packet so I can look at it? Or
She's having problems.
oh, she having a problem?
Yes.
I can read it. It's really pretty short.
Oh, okay, go ahead. This way.
The plan is to develop a memorandum of agreement between the town and the county to manage the old county courthouse as a mixed-use facility to include market-rate tenants in the spaces which front the plaza. The remainder of the building will be reserved for community service nonprofits. The rents from the commercial tenants will be used to offset operational costs, and if the rents provide a surplus, then that money would go into a capital improvement fund. The town and the county would put out an RFP for an executive director to manage the building and to raise funds for certain building improvements described in the David Henry Assessment and Preservation Plan dated September 27, 2013. The director would be chosen by a joint town and county committee and paid under contract to be divided equally between the town and the county. Now, I'm not sure about all of those details, but I mean, that's the basic premise that we would instruct staff to work on. And I knew that Steve wasn't going to be here, and so I asked him to respond to that, and he responded with his email that said he agreed with the concept.
I only have a question, Mr. Chairman, on this, where it says a director. They don't have one picked out already?
No. Well, I certainly don't, and I haven't been aware of anybody already picked out. I do think that there's a number of people in the community that could answer an RFP and make it happen. I don't know exactly who those people are. And
So would, under the proposal, the share of the rents would be shared with the town of Taos then? Income derived from the old courthouse would be shared with the town of Taos?
they would go just for the operational costs, and then they, like I said, if there was more than enough to pay for maintenance and electricity and all of the basic monthly costs, then it would just go into a separate fund that would eventually go into the capital improvements that we have to make it ADA compliant and to get the best use out of that local treasure.
So I guess the question is, if there was a profit recognized on a yearly basis, then it would be shared with the town of Taos, because the town of Taos would in fact share in the expenses.
It would go into a capital fund that would basically be supplied by whatever grant monies, whatever legislative monies the director was able to raise.
And I know that this commission had directed Mr. Archuleta, and I don't know if he's done anything with regards to finding out as to what the base rents should be on the bottom floor of the building. Mr. Jaramillo, Mr. Malone, any thought on that?
Yes, we've received two estimates from two different sources, two different realtors. The David Henry proposal is saying that it's $1.50 per square foot, and I think the other proposals that we've seen, it's $1.82 per square foot on a monthly basis for rent.
$1.50?
Anywhere from $1.50 to $1.82 that we've seen. And then I think we're in the process of getting two other estimates. Ms. Padilla has been charged with that, so I think Ms. Shantz from the Shantz Realty provided one of them, and I know she showed me the David Henry one, and then we're trying to get two others. That way we can get a good estimate of what those rents should be.
And these are based on the current market situation?
Yes.
On the plaza?
Mr. Chairman, why is it that it was at 2 weeks ago at $16 a square foot?
That's based on the annual?
Oh, annual.
Yeah.
That's annual.
So, and Mr. Cordova could actually help me out with this, but you take the $16 a square foot, you divide that by 12, and then you times that by the square footage. So we were incorrect in saying the $16 times the square foot times 12 for the annual rent. So you actually divide the 16 divided by the 12, and that's how you come up with the $1.50.
Yeah. Well, I had a previous discussion with our county manager, and he had actually other recommendations as to how to move with regards to the building. And so I really wish that this commission would take that into account and that we would delay the vote or any decision until our manager is present so that we can hear his side of the story as well. And I know, Mr. Flores, you had raised your hand for some comment as well.
Chairman, fellow commissioners, you know, over the course of the last 6 years, I've had some form of hand in the pie or foot in the door in regards to overseeing and managing the Old County Courthouse. Prior to the Arts and Cultural District kind of being conjoined with the county, requests to view the Old County Courthouse would go through our assets manager, and then we would coordinate and get things going through that route. In the last year, I have requested like an administrative assistant per se, or a clerk, and I hear in discussion that the position to manage the county courthouse may be a part-time position. Just a suggestion that may benefit the county is to hire that individual and work with me and possibly work within my department. Together we could oversee and manage the Old County Courthouse schedule, ensure that it is, you know, being brought up to code and renovated as needed. And that position being part-time would allow me, which when working with our deputy county manager, our current county manager, the ability to ensure that it is being rented out and handled correctly, and at the same time it would give me the position that I feel I so desperately need. Just a suggestion. I know that you know, there's a lot of things on the table being weighed and so forth, being that it may be a part-time position, and being that the facilities management has a big stake in ensuring that the county courthouse is managed correctly. You know, we're called upon when there's tables needed, chairs needed, lights. I'm getting requests right now to upgrade the lighting in the mural room come fall. You know, a lot of these events are held in the evening. The lighting is inadequate. We need to, you know, bring that up. So just a suggestion, something to ponder, you know, with my department kind of having a lot to do with managing it. I'd be happy to continue to assist you guys in moving it forward. Just a suggestion and some verbiage.
Mr. Chairman, since we're violating the law, and under your suggestion, how much notice do we have to give the tenants there?
Well, and I wasn't suggesting that we make an immediate move in terms of trying to redress the issue of the tenancy. You know, I want to give everybody enough time. My point was, in the longer term, this would fix that problem. But Mr. Malone, I'm sorry.
To first answer Commissioner Duran's question, all of the current tenants that have a lease are on a month-to-month basis, so we would only be legally required to give them 30 days notice. There are some people occupying space that don't have a lease, and the law implies 30 days on that anyway, so in each instance it would be 30 days. I do have a question. Whether the commission acts on this today or at another meeting, the same question would apply. The devil is always in the details for a lawyer, and in working out an MOU with the town, I would need to know whether leasing decisions would be delegated to the executive director, or whether, Commissioner Blankenhorn, you would envision the executive director making recommendations and then bringing it back to the two governing bodies to approve the lease. Normally, if it's just us, the county commission would approve a lease, but I need some guidance, whether we vote on it now or at some later point on that point. It's something I've thought about since you first floated this concept with me last week, and that's something that I would need that detail, or I'd be just making it up as I went along.
Well, it's a great question, and I think that it would be answered as a result of the negotiations with the town. I mean, it seems to me that a joint committee choosing the director and then a joint committee reviewing the recommendations for the leases would be appropriate. And I appreciate Mr. Flores's, all of his efforts with the county courthouse, and I'm sure that, obviously the county would still be involved, but the point of the proposal is not just to find somebody to manage the courthouse. The point of the proposal is to find somebody to organize the funding for the major improvements that we need. And I think in a situation like that, it's always really useful to have one point person that is managing both. And so that's kind of inherent in the proposal. And, approving this today would not in any way be an end result. It would be direction to staff to move in this direction so that we can find, and then of course whatever was the result of those negotiations would come back for final approval or disapproval from both governmental entities. But to me, it's important for us to work with the town on this, both from a budgetary consideration and from the communities and for the community's well-being. And so with that, I'll make a motion to
You can hold on the motion a little bit. I got a little bit of discussion. This is a question for the mayor. No, my question is, how close, or do you have somebody in place already to be getting funding or trying to get grants? Or
We have a position that was posted. We're getting ready to hire a grants administrator within the town of Taos. And in the decision that was made in our last meeting to work with the town, if the town is willing, work with the town and county together for revitalization of the old county courthouse, that would be one of the number 1 projects that grants administrator would take on. I just recently had a conversation with Mr. Ben Ray Lujan, our congressman, on Thursday, and he has sent me a number of links that we could probably access possible funding. There has been several other requests that have been asked with some of our local nonprofits, if they are willing to contribute to help revitalization of the old county courthouse. And there's been a very positive response that people are willing to come forward and help, whether it's the town, the county, a combined effort. They would love to see, the majority of people would love to see a combined effort, town and county together, revitalizing that downtown area, because then it's a commitment from both entities, not just from one.
Okay, let me ask.
And I just want to, before you, Commissioner Blankenhorn, in your agreement here, in that agreement, would there be some actually, I want to say, kind of a dollar amount, what we're looking for that revitalization? I think that's one of the things that the council would love to see, and I'm sure the commissioners, what kind of money are we going to need to be able to put the restrooms in there, to finish the air conditioning and heating system, to make it ADA compliant with an elevator, and I guess those are some of the things that you would like to see in that memorandum of agreement, so that we have a dollar budget to work towards.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I made reference to the David Henry assessment plan, which includes all of those costs. I personally don't believe that all of the recommendations are necessary, but that would be left up to a committee. But we do have the basis, and the basis of that was from a $50,000 grant that was shared between the town and the county. I think Mr. Henry did a good job in laying out the floor plan and showing where the bathrooms would go, and opening up the one alleyway for a pocket park and to access the plumbing. So that is included in the proposition.
Mr. Flores, do you agree with some of those recommendations that have been made?
Yeah, I would say that I do. In regards to the plumbing issue, all the old courthouse plumbing is visible through the basement. There's only that last run that cuts through the alley. And in regards, and I have a suggestion, I'm not an architect or nothing, you know, maybe another thing to look at is rather than a pocket park and tearing down the alley, maybe that alleyway could be a feasible restroom in the sense that the plumbing is easily accessed. It's ground level. I'm not sure if they were going to put the restrooms upstairs or downstairs, and I don't want to get off subject here, but in tearing down that alleyway, the plumbing being right there, it's access, it's a quick shot into our you know, our sewer line. Water is right there.
But it also means knocking down the old jail.
Yes, it would be.
Which is historical in its own way.
Yes, sir. And, you know, I really enjoy overseeing the way the old county courthouse now is historically. And I just stood up real quick to make a suggestion and ask the commission that whatever you guys so choose to decide on, if you could just ensure that they work closely with the facilities management department, because we're called upon almost on, you know, beck and call to get things done. Just to give an example, last weekend I met with the lady here at the old county courthouse. There was a function in the evening. I gave her a key. We went over everything that needed to be done. They failed to relay to me the amount of tables that were needed. So the tables that were there were inadequate. I got out of work that evening. Me and my brother decided to go grouse hunting. Luckily, I was in the mountains. They caught me in this area of the cell phone range. I got a phone call. I tried to answer my phone as much as possible. They were getting ready to start their function. They needed tables. I'm up in my Estos Ridge going grouse hunting. Luckily, I was able to call one of my employees, and they came to the complex and rushed tables over there. It's kind of a weekly thing. We're happy to serve the community, to, you know, do our jobs, but that executive director and the town and county, you know, I'm sure we're going to find some protocols and map everything out. But if right now we're kind of in limbo, we're in the air, me and Brent, we're doing the best we can to manage that and make sure that functions happen smoothly. But I'm all for moving forward in the management process of it, because right now, you know, we're jumping around and just trying to make things happen and ensure that the community uses the space.
I guess I beg to differ with Commissioner Blankenhorn's ideas. First of all, I don't really agree with Mr. Henry's recommendations of a lot of the things about the building. It's one thing to know construction and how to work with Adobe versus penciling a building together and some ideas for it from a desk. And that's kind of where I see Mr. Henry coming from. As far as the management is concerned, this is a Taos County owned building. It's owned by the people of Taos County. And I still feel there's an underlying reason as to why all this is being proposed today by certain commissioners. And I don't see the full story yet on the table. And so I still feel that we also need to bring our county manager into this picture to hear his thoughts on it and his recommendations, because I know that this commission had already made that decision a few weeks ago to be able to look at what those rates should be and how a plan on how to fill in the first floor with viable tenants, whether it be on a month-to-month basis or a yearly basis. I really feel that if we go the route today that is being suggested, it's going to continue misplacing a lot of our local business people. Right now, we have the Frescas family that has had a shop for many years. They've been successful. They've done well. It has put their children through school, their family, has supported the family. We have the individuals, and I forget their names, from Taos Pueblo, and they've done the same. They've run a successful building, and Mr. Henry's proposal is to, in fact, do away with that alley store, when in fact it's created income. It's created income. An income opportunity, economic development for the community, and here we are proposing to tear it down so that it turns into a little alley park that, I mean, let's face it, all it's going to do is become a park for drunks to be able to access the plaza from one side of the plaza to Bent Street, that area. That's all it's going to do. It's going to become pissing grounds, really. What we have now is a successful business that is supporting a family from Taos Pueblo. There's a lot of things that need to be taken into account. You know, we can't jump into it. We've discussed it for years and years. We've named committee after committee. I think what has to happen is the county just needs to get serious about it and move forward with leasing those spaces, fixing the building. There's some money, there's a little bit of money is available. We've discussed those things I've discussed them with Richard Sanchez, and he's got some good recommendations. We've discussed them with the county manager. There's a lot of potential. There are people who are willing to assist the county in doing the proper fundraising in order to run it, to run the facility, as well as to do create a good program schedule. I think in the programming itself is where we should involve the town of Taos in order to be able to bring in the type of programming that is going to create economic development for the community, and not just the town, but the county as a whole. I just really feel that this needs to be put out in a work study session. I don't think we need to move towards making a decision today. I think it's premature.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Where are we at on the county side for a grant writer? Or you don't know, Mr. Jaramillo?
I know Mr. Cordova can address this.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Duran, what we had done is we put some money into the budget in order to contract out a grant writer. At this time, we want to say it was $20,000. That's what we were able to put aside to contract for a grant writer. However, we haven't stopped looking at the idea of a full-time, depending on what kind of personnel changes happen throughout the year. If an opening occurs that may be able to be repurposed towards that kind of job, we were looking at maybe doing that. But at this time, we don't have anyone in mind. We haven't put a job description together, and we haven't started advertising or anything on that.
Okay.
And I've had the discussion with Mr. Whaley, and I hate to put him on the spot, but Mr. Whaley, if you can share some of that discussion, I would really appreciate it.
Commissioners, Mr. Chair, Mr. Jaramillo, Mr. Malone, you know, since I don't know if you guys know what's going on over there, but specifically, because I'm there every day, but since Mr. Jaramillo took over the supervision of the building and booking the facilities, he's put or somebody helped him put up a website, so we have a calendar of events. And yesterday we met, and Deb and I and Paul Figueroa, who's running the Taos Fall Arts, met. And we met with Vito, actually, just so that he would know what's going on. And we've got a ton of events going on there for this next month. And during the last year, the place was neglected in terms of the details of booking. You know, when you book the mural room during the day, you have to make sure it still remains open to the public. And you have to, you know, appropriately assign people times and so forth so they don't clash, et cetera. So there's the booking and the managing aspect that goes on day to day, and the communication with the county is very good right now because we all know each other, Mr. Flores and the staff and everything. And then the other thing that's gone on, well, at least from my point of view, is I've researched lots of grants on the facility, and as well as reread Mr. Henry's proposal several times. And the things lacking from Mr. Henry's proposal are an engineering report, an archaeological report, and an environmental report. So, in fact, we need a grant to get a grant to finish doing this work. I also consulted with Richard Marchese, who teaches grant writing for the University of New Mexico. He also holds seminars for the Arts and Culture District and Mainstream in the whole state. And he told me that, you know, the building needs to be on the ICIP, and it needs all these other reports so that you can move ahead. as well, during my research, I discovered lots and lots of grants for programming. So I don't know why it's nothing personal about the town, but you're asking the county to put the courthouse under the same people at the town who had the control of the facility for the last year and didn't do a heck of a lot with it. Yes, they got it open to the public in terms of the room and everything, but there should have been some grants written during that period of time. And I'm willing to bet that I could write several grants by the time the county and the town even make a deal on this thing, given the direction from the town. I mean, all you have to do is move ahead and start writing them, make a few decisions. As for the David Henry proposal, I think one of the things, there was a pre-proposal from Gene Sanchez when Gene just looked at it when he was on the town council, and he suggested that the elevators in the bathroom should go in the alleyway so that it didn't interfere with the building. It would be less expensive and less harm to the historic structure. At the same time, I think the county has to maintain the facade on the plaza. I don't think they should open alleys up. And like Chairman Romero said, and I've had lots of experience, I used to clean up Piss Alley on the other side of the plaza on a daily basis. And you don't need to invite transients or poor behavior into the alleys. That's one of the things. And I think the county needs to make those decisions before they make a deal with the town, because otherwise, there's just going to be more bureaucracy. I really think the county could move ahead with this. There's no reason not to work with the town, but it is the county's facility, and they need to make the decisions. Otherwise, you're just going to bat it back and forth again. It's going to be like E911 or something, And I think you need some people there, quite frankly, who have a passion for the place and want to move it ahead, I think the RFPs for the front spaces are fine, open it up to the public, and I don't see any reason why we can't get, I know the people very well at Taos Community Foundation, why we can't get the foundation behind this, just like they're behind the Lawrence Ranch or something. There's no reason why it can't be an all-inclusive project, but you've got to have somebody to drive it, You've got to get it going.
Yeah, exactly, Mr. Chairman. You have to have somebody to drive it. First off, Mr. Chairman, there's nothing under anything here. This is a very simple proposal to try to forward the old county courthouse. So whatever your suspicions are about something sinister and hidden, you can put them to rest. This is a simple proposal. And the point is, the status quo, is not working. The status quo is, we're not in compliance with the law on a number of different levels. And so we have to get focused and we have to move forward. And as much as some people would like to keep it in a smaller control, I think it's really important that we open it up to the public and find somebody, as Mr. Whaley says, who can be focused to drive this thing. And, this is not a decision about whether or not we open up a pocket park or not. We have a study, and some of those suggestions are clearly necessary, and some of them may eventually be rejected. But the main thing to me is that I think we have a responsibility to move forward and not to maintain what we have now.
Mr. Malone?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just another of those bedeviling details, Commissioner Blankenhorn. If it turned out that the income from the front spaces was not adequate for the ongoing operating expenses of the courthouse, does your proposal leave it up to the negotiation or envision whether the county or the town, whether there would be some split of those expenses?
Well, I would definitely leave it up to the negotiations, but I imagine that there would be a split.
Thank you.
Which would further alleviate the pressures on Taos County's budget.
There is no way that rental or the rent or income derived from the front primary spaces is going to afford all of the expenses of the building. It's something that's got to be shared, has to be shared by all of the tenants. And furthermore, the county, we're a government entity. There's no way that we're providing a service, but it's going to be very difficult to realize a profit at any given time. The profit is in being able to create economic development and supporting our tenants, create small businesses from this. The profit comes from being able to have a community as a whole that can enjoy the building through the various forms of programming, whether it be art displays, educational opportunities that would open it up for the community to enjoy, whether it be even a simple commission meeting or any meeting of that sort to be able to take place. And there are entities that currently enjoy it. I understand the Chamber of Commerce, the Green Chamber of Commerce is there. The Historical Society is there. I agree, everybody has to pay a certain amount of rent, but we can't put all the pressure on just making sure that the tenants for one space pay all of the expenses of the entire building. It's just not feasible.
Mr. Chairman, gee, this is a real hard decision for me because I hear what you said, Chairman, and then on the other hand, we got to move forward, But then on the other hand, it's like Mr. Whaley said, well, the town had it, didn't do nothing for a year,
The county had it. The county had it. The town didn't have it. Mr. Whaley is wrong. The county had the county had the.
But the lady that we had there running the place, she should have been on top of it and writing grants and whatever, trying to see if we were going to move forward, And for me, that is real difficult for me. And I'm just going to suggest this. We bring this back in another meeting, and I'll have to make a decision then, I'm not ready today to make one, because, I've heard a lot of different things, you know what I mean? But at some point in time, I am going to have to make a decision, and I think I just need a little bit more time, because the thing about it is, we do have to move forward. We do have to put in the bathrooms. We do have to do the elevators. We got to get it ADA compliance, But I need a little bit of time.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Duran, and I'll hold off on my motion then and ask that it be brought back. Would October 21st meeting be sufficient?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, one of the suggestions that had been made, and I can't remember if it was done publicly, but I do remember the discussion taking place with a couple of commissioners and the manager, the last meeting that we had, that this was going to come in the form of a work study, a joint meeting between the town and the county. And so I don't know what happened with that. Mayor, Commissioner Barone?
It's still on our agenda.
Okay.
As soon as we can get a date.
Okay, so that would be a good time to have that discussion again. Commissioner Barone, I would suggest that we look forward to that joint work study to bring that and other issues. And that kind of leads me to the next item on the agenda, Mr. Commissioners, is the discussion regarding the ownership of the plaza.
Oh, Mr. Chairman.
Hold on, before we move on.
Hold on.
On that work study is set for when?
There's not a date that's been.
Not a date. And Commissioner Blackenhorn, you had thought of bringing this back on October the 21st?
Yes.
Well, let's bring it back on October the 21st. By then, I should have made up my mind. Because I cannot sit here spinning my wheels, and somebody's going to have to take the bull by the horns. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. The the item that I put on the agenda for today was discussion regarding the ownership of the plaza. The last meeting that we had, our probate judge, Andres Vargas, brought a petition signed by a couple of hundred people that were interested in looking at exactly what is, if anything, there's any interest as far as ownership is concerned from the Taos County. Malone, if you have seen it, but I would like for you to look at it and give us your opinion on it. Based on discussions with previous county staff who worked in the assessor's office, the treasurer's office, the discussion that I've had with Mr. Vargas, there seems to be a cloud in the title of exactly who owns the old, or the plaza itself. And so I know the town probably derives income from it via it be booth fees for fiestas. I'm not sure if participants in the farmers market actually have to pay fees on a weekly basis to the plaza to be able to have a vending area set up on the plaza every weekend. If that's the case, then possibly we could even consider some sort of joint ownership there as well, just like what is being proposed with regards to the old courthouse. So, Mr. Malone, I know that we can't make a decision today. Our county manager didn't list it as something that we could make a decision on, but I, as chairman of the commission, would like to ask you to, I know your schedule is fairly busy, but if you and I can sit down and look at that deed that exists currently with regards to Taos Plaza, and if you can give me some advice as to where we need to take it.
Of course, I'd be happy to do that, Mr. Chairman. Just so that the commission together understands, that deed would be the start point, and then there would have to be some kind of a title search, some sort of a historical view of, how it came to be what it currently is. That would be a very lengthy and arduous project. I just want to be sure that you understand that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What do you hope to accomplish?
At this point, nothing. Just want to clear what Mr. Vargas and a lot of residents from Taos County have talked about. Mr. Vargas took the initiative to bring it forward with a petition, and I feel that as a county commission, we have the obligation to act on those petitions when they are presented to the county.
I've seen the deed. I mean, there is evidence that the county owns the plaza, but I'm not sure what the point would be to go through a title search and try and establish additional evidence of county ownership of the plaza. I just, it's time and expense, and I'm not sure what the purpose would be.
Right, and I didn't suggest that, Commissioner Blankenhorn. It was something that was mentioned by Mr. Malone.
Well, just to be clear, I'm not suggesting that we're going to go run off and do a title search. I just wanted to be clear to everybody that just looking at that deed, it isn't going to provide a definitive answer, and that if there's a consensus on the commission that we're going to act further, that it would involve a lot more elaborate action. In all likelihood, we would probably have to commission a title search from one of the title companies, and I'm just informing the commission. All I'm saying is that would be involved.
Okay. With that, any other discussion? Okay. We'll move on to item 12, legal matters, discussion regarding pending or threatened litigation. This matter may be discussed in executive session under the Open Meetings Act exemption of 1015-1H7, which allows for the discussion of pending or threatened litigation. And this is with regards to a lawsuit involving the airport expansion. In addition, discussion, consideration, and decisions may take place in the open meetings today. Mr. Malone?
Oh, no.
Anything else?
No.
No, it would be appropriate for a motion to move into executive session at this point.
So move.
Okay, I'll go ahead and second. Madam Clerk?
Yes.
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 So move to come back into regular session.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Yes.
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 Yes. Mr. Malone?
Mr. Chairman, the commission met in executive session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act exemption 1015-1H7. That's for the discussion of pending or threatened litigation, in this case, the litigation involving the airport expansion. That was the only matter discussed by the commission in executive session, and no decisions were made.
So move to accept the attorney's report.
Second?
Madam Clerk?
Yes.
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 So move to adjourn.
I'll go ahead and second. Madam Clerk?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, staff. Ms. Clerk, Madam Clerk.